Hey everyone, welcome back to Shutter Magazine. I'm Dustin Lucas, and today I'm going to be talking to you about 5 reasons to build custom profiles in Lightroom. I've been using custom profiles for a while now, and it's really allowed me to work quickly and allow me to work one click, my one click strategy in Lightroom, right? So you might be familiar with presets, working very fast in Lightroom, and being able to apply adjustments to multiple images at once. Well, now you have the ability to push beyond just a preset. You can build custom profiles, which allows you to apply a non-destructive kind of overlay to add some creative elements to your images. So at this stage, you'd be done color correcting, or at least correcting the images for exposure, wipeouts, things like that. Now you want to apply something a little more creative to kind of show off a little more of your style. So 5 reasons to keep it real quick for you for why I highly recommend building custom profiles in Lightroom. One, they're simple. Building profiles is really easy to do. Number two, it's efficient. Making creative editing faster, that has to be the goal and why you're working in Lightroom. Number three, quality. You always want to work with the best tool, right? It's not always about Photoshop. We'll get to that where you can make actions come into Lightroom, which is pretty cool. Number four, variety. You want to apply multiple styles. You want to give your clients a full service experience, but you also don't want to confuse them, right, with what your brand is. So we'll go over that a little later. Number five, it's convenient. One place for editing, one click to apply these things. It's so important to keep things working fast and to your advantage convenient. So let's jump into how simple it is to build a profile and get started in Lightroom. All right, so first things first, reason number one, color profiles are simple. So let's talk about how to build color profiles. So first thing we have to do is open an image into Adobe Camera Raw. So take any raw file, open it into Photoshop, boom, we're in Camera Raw. So some really important tips when thinking about color profiles are is that you don't necessarily want white balance set. You want that as shot or kind of left as it is. So we definitely want to turn that off if you have a already color corrected file as I have here. And I'll definitely want to put my exposure back to 0. Now, that's not for all cases, but at least for this, we can start with putting the exposure at 0. Now you'll notice that I have my color profile already set to Adobe Color. That's perfectly fine. We don't want to apply any of these other custom ones in there just yet. We want to leave that at Adobe Color. So now that we kind of have some adjustments here, whether you already have a preset put together or not, you can try, and apply different kind of looks and styles if you want as well. So I have a few different presets that I would apply to an image to kind of give it that look. Now, this already has a custom profile, applied to it. If I put that back to Adobe Color, we can kind of see what that does to my image. So putting that back to Adobe Color, we can kind of see before and after. Um, let's see here. Let's reset both of these. We'll put them back to default, and we'll swap these just so we can kind of see a before and after. Give you a little better look into what we're doing here. So what I want to do now is apply my Portrait 400 preset just to give it this kind of look and flares. You can see it brought contrast up and things like that. So I might want to go in and do something a little more, a little more light on the toning here, like maybe apply like a matte style tone. So what I can do is I can come in here and I can change my tone curve to point, and this will allow me to add that matte style finish to my profile. So what I'll do is I'll click down here in the lower left hand corner, and I can click and drag that upwards. So as you can see, my blacks get a little more matte. Now we don't need to get into the specifics of what I want to add here, but I might do the same thing as well to the white point just to kind of dull those just a little bit, bring back a little bit of an S curve. in my profile. So now that I'm ready to save my camera profile, I can go back into the presets panel, and I need to make sure to take note of a few things. First of all, the detail panel is not going to save in my profile, so all these settings here are useless. Also, I won't be able to use any lens correction in my profile save, or any calibration settings, which are listed here. None of those are going to save either, so it might be more beneficial if I zero all of these out. Let's see, just so I can get a more realistic view of what this is going to look like. Probably won't change it too much, but overall that's what my final profile will look like on this image unedited. So now that I'm ready to save it, I can go into the presets panel. I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to click on the new preset button. Now this opens up the option for a new profile, right? So I come in here, I can save Kodak for Portra 400, and I'll add the matte tone to it so we can have a more fully named profile here. I have different profiles set up automatically, different groups put together, so I'm going to put this into my profiles. And you'll notice here only these adjustments are being selected. None of these other ones are selected because I don't have any adjustments made in them, but this is something for you to take note. Basic panel, point curve, HSL settings, camera profile, all those kind of things. All the other settings I leave at default as well when doing this, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now the only other thing I need to do is I need to relaunch my Lightroom catalog. So once I am ready to relaunch my catalog here, we'll find that new Kodak Portra 400 profile listed and developed for me. So I'm going to go back to that specific image here once we wait for Lightroom to do what it's supposed to do. All these adjustments are in place. Let's get that a little bit bigger. Now I can go in here to Profile, click on the Profile browser, and under My Profiles is, let's see here, my matte tone. And that's it. So that's as simple as it is to set up and apply a profile. As you can see here, I'll go back to my before and after panel here to there. So as you can see here, I have my color corrected file. Everything looks about what I want. And then I can apply my creative profile over top of that. Super simple. All right, so moving on to reason number 2, and that's for efficiency. I want to make sure my creative editing is faster and my workflow is actually working. So what I like to do after I create a custom profile is I want to apply that to multiple images at once. Well, the quickest way to do that is to use presets. So with having the profile set to the settings and the amount, the specific profile and amount that I want, I can hold Shift, Command, and N, Shift Command N, and I can choose to create a preset named specifically for this. Now, I'd want to make sure that my specific profile is applied here. My matte warm tone, let's see here, Portra 400 tone, that looks right. Put this back to as shot. Take my brightness down. So this kind of matte tone, of course I'd need to do some tweaks to it, but this would be kind of in the realm of what I want to apply. So I'd go ahead and hit Shift Command N, and I'd create the Kodak Portra 400 matte, and I'm going to put it in the group for custom profiles so I know specifically that's what I'm applying, and then I'll have treatment and profile checked. So once I do that, I can select multiple images from a scene, drop down the saved preset panel under quick develop, and instantly apply my profile. Now, of course, in a situation like this, I might come in and sync the white balance and do a match total exposure to get things a little bit closer. I definitely need to do some brush work on these images as well, but it definitely quickly applies my profile to all those images. Now, that works really well when you're done color correcting and you want to apply a specific profile to multiple images at once. We'll go through that. But again, efficiency, color profiles, taking those profiles and putting them into a preset. I mean, there's a lot of different combinations you can do. I definitely urge you to use the color profiles and start things off with these first two steps. Moving on to reason number 3, it's all about quality. I always want to work with the best tool. So Photoshop is where that comes in, and I have actions that I want to use in Lightroom as well to make color profiles. So it's a little bit of a two-step process to do this, but we can take actions in Photoshop, convert them, and export them into LUT files or lookup tables, and then we can create profiles or save profiles from those lookup tables. So the first thing I need to do is I need to apply a specific action that I want to change the tone of my image. Now I like this warm matte look, but I need to make sure I don't have any image files or image layers in my action. The specific limitations of exporting LUTs is that you can only choose layer adjustments. So all of these layer adjustments will be fine. I can apply these of outside of Photoshop. So once I have those layer adjustments selected, I can go up here to File, Export, and Color Lookup Tables, or what I'm looking for. And so I like to name the description of this the same thing that I am um, of one of my actions. So I'm going to save the description as that. I'm going to leave all these adjustments the same. I'm not going to change these. That won't matter. Go ahead and click OK. And then I can go in here to Documents, Adobe, LUT files, and I can do Matte Warm New. So I know it's this one. I have a few different profiles in here already. Um, we'll go ahead and save that there. And it's done. So now the next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to open up this file into, or open any file up into Camera Raw to create the profile. So I'll just go ahead and do Camera Raw filter, and it's going to apply it on just this image here. Let's go ahead and hit cancel just to make sure it's not going to apply it to both. We'll go up here to Camera Raw filter, make sure to turn off our actions so it doesn't double apply it. Now I'm going to go into the presets, hold Option, click on New Preset, and I'm going to call this Matte Warm New again. I'm going to put this into My Profiles. And the key thing to remember is that we don't have any adjustments made here, but we're going to go down here and choose Color Lookup Table. So now I need to choose that cube file that we're going to apply here and go ahead and click OK. So I can click cancel on that. All I have to do is relaunch Lightroom. I'll do that here, and now my new profile should automatically apply. Now, something you have to experiment a little bit with is sometimes some actions have some odd um, adjustments applied to them, so your color profile might look really wacky. So we'll see how mine turns out here, just as a little bit of an experiment. So we'll go into attribute, and we'll see how this turns out. So we'll go back into the profile browser. We'll go all the way down here, and I created that matte new warm. Oh, everything turned out okay. So that's it. So you can see from here where I had it applied, and I can apply my same tone. Does a pretty good job of matching it. I'm going to turn off, if I wanted to match this high pass kind of effect, I could definitely still have that in, let's see here, in Lightroom, applying texture, or if I wanted to apply clarity to give a little more sharpness, or just coming down to the details panel and doing that as well. But I can kind of get that same application, and it's pretty close. I mean, it's pretty crazy that you can get them looking that close in Lightroom versus Photoshop. But that's definitely a useful tip for any of you that want to bring um, some of your best actions that are already built in Photoshop and apply them as a profile here in Lightroom. So massively helpful in bringing that quality in. Really transforms my workflow for creativity. All right, so moving on to reason number 4 is variety. I love the ability to apply multiple styles to my images. So what it all comes down to is being able to have a cohesive look, because I don't want to confuse my client, right? I don't want to apply a bunch of different styles and looks to the images and really kind of give them a greatest hits of what I think the edit should look like. But I want to give them some variety, but still giving them a sense of what my brand is, why they're coming to me. So what I love about the profile browser in Lightroom is I can hover over different profiles. I can group them together. I can do a multitude of things here in managing my different profiles. But what I really like is the ability to star any of the ones that I really like to save in my favorites. And so I have different profiles that I apply for skin smoothing, for film effects, for actions and things like that from Photoshop. So there's a bunch of different options here for me to get creative. Now, taking this a step further, what I like to do is with different profiles, I might want to change the amount, right? In most cases, I'm not typically taking it past 100, but I might want some of the original image to shine through. So I can kind of take that amount slider back, dial it back a bit, and sync it to a bunch of images. And so the fact that I can take this down all the way to 0 and start to increase it from there really gives me more flexibility and variety with my different profiles if I need to make it a little less intense on one image or another. Um, but what I really like to do in Lightroom is create virtual copies of all my images. And I can do that by selecting all of them, holding Command and hitting the apostrophe key, and it will immediately create virtual copies for every one of my files. Already select them, and now I can change all of these to yellow labels, so that way later, if I only want to affect the yellow labels here, I can come in here and apply different presets. Um, like specifically if I wanted to turn everything into black and white, I can very easily do that with the V key. And now I can have black and white versions of all my images, right? And the reason why I do these as different colors is so that way I can go back to those and separate them out. So now that I have black and white versions of all my files, I can then go and select all the no label ones, select all, command apostrophe again, and I will apply green labels. I'll go ahead and select all those, and I will do the warm matte tone. So now I can have 3 versions of each file, and I can offer these to the client either in the IPS. Um, that one's a bit bright, kind of looks a little crazy, but I have now these different options that I can show to them um, quite quickly. So again, some of the profiles might need a few tweaks and things like that. This one got a little bit bright, a little crazy. But you can see how quick and flexible you can be if you have your profiles and presets and all that dialed in. You might have a better black and white preset than I'm showing here, but it's definitely going to give you some really interesting options here for your color correction, your matte, your warm matte tone, and then your black and white. So there's definitely a lot of flexibility to have a lot of variety in Lightroom as well, applying those. Um, so yeah, let's move on to the fifth and final reason, and that's truly just the convenience of profiles. So my fifth and final reason for using color profiles is just the pure convenience of editing in one place. So for Lightroom and being able to edit, organize, finish my files in here is massive for me. Of course, there's always going to be things I'm going to take images into Photoshop to fix. But if I can do the majority, 90% of what I want to do in Lightroom, that should be the goal. So the fact that I can take actions from Photoshop um, make them into profiles, make these actions one click in Lightroom, and being able to apply them to multiple images instantly with one click is massive for my workflow. So just being able to instantly apply that to multiple images is a game changer for me. I can go in and refine any of these images, any of the profiles. I have that amount slider, so that's one of those a little more um, in depth and more useful aspect of the color profiles is that you can change the amount that's being applied, so you have some flexibility and adjustments there. So end of the day, why should you be adding profiles to your arsenal? Well, here's why. One, it's simple. Two, it's efficient. Three, gives you the quality in your creative editing. Four, you have the variety to give your clients a little more of a cohesive look of your brand. Again, you don't want to confuse them. You don't want to confuse the clients. Um, so definitely keep it more cohesive. And five, it's convenient. So there's no better time than now. It's off season. Try building your own profiles and let me know what you think.